Okay, last and final page, page 5 of the Unit 6 review. Let me just minimize this on my screen. There is my mouse. Okay. So given the graph, being able to find the limit. So again, when you see that exponent that's a negative, you're looking to the left or looking at x values slightly smaller than 3. So when you're looking at x values slightly smaller than 3, here's 3 on my x-axis. So you want to take your finger and go to the left of 3 and then trace your graph so that it gets really, really close to 3 on the left. So notice what's happening. The graph isn't ending, it's going down towards negative infinity. So we would say this is negative infinity. Now, this is a two-sided limit because there's no plus or minus in the exponent for 3. So in order for this limit to exist, if you trace your finger on the left and on the right of 3, they have to meet. And notice, left of 3 is negative infinity. To the right of 3, it's going towards this particular number right here. So therefore, I know that this is a D&E. So the limit as x approaches infinity, this you're looking at the end behavior. The end behavior is what's happening on the far right-hand side, because again, as x approaches positive infinity, all your positive x values are on the right. So this is going towards infinity. The limit as x approaches 0 from the right. Again, you're going to go to the right of 0, trace your graph until you get really, really close to 0 on the left, and that's getting really close to what appears to be negative 1. Again, the limit as x approaches 0. This is a two-sided limit because you don't have that plus or minus exponent here. So the limit as you're approaching 0 from the left and for the right have to meet at the same place, and they don't. So this is another D&E. So the limit as x approaches negative 3. So here's negative 3 on my x-axis. Again, this is a two-sided limit because notice there's no plus or minus with the exponent for negative 3. So take your finger, go to the left and to the right of negative 3, and your fingers should meet at the same point, which they do. And the y value of that particular place is 0. Remember, it's not what it's equal to, but it's the behavior that's happening around negative 3. The graph is getting really, really close to the y value of 0 without being equal to it. So next we have the limit as x approaches 2 from the left. So here's 2 on my x-axis. So the limit as x is approaching 2 from the left. So again, to the left of 2, it's going towards negative infinity. And I think I misread my graph up here, by the way. Go back to part A. I'm sorry, it's hard to see these lines. The limit as x approaches 3 from the left. So if I go to the left of 3, it's approaching this particular point right here, which is 1. Sorry, I misread that as a 2. The limit as x is approaching 2 from the right. So again, I'm going to take my pencil, go to the right of 2. As I'm getting really, really close to that x value of 2, notice the behavior is going towards positive infinity. And again, the limit as x approaches 2. This is a two-sided limit. What's happening on the left and the right of 2, they're going in two different directions, so it's a D&E. So now this question, g of 0, this is asking you for the defined value. So I want to know when x is equal to 0, what is the exact y value? Remember, these open circles aren't the y values. So here is where x is equal to 0. And the y value for that particular point, let's see, is 1, 2, 3. G of 3 is that closed circle right there, because that's the point at x equals 3. So that's going to be a 1. G of 2. Notice there is no place on this graph where you have a defined value of x equals 2, so this is undefined. The limit as x approaches negative 3 from the right. So again, to the right of negative 3, as you get closer and closer to negative 3, it's approaching 0. The limit as x approaches negative 3 from the left. Again, we're getting really, really close to 0 without being equal to 0. So this is your two-sided limit. So the limit as x approaches negative 3 from the left and from the right are the same value. So this limit does exist at 0. G of negative 3. Notice at negative 3, this is an open circle. It's not defined at that particular point, and there's no other place at x equals negative 3 where you're going to have a point. So this is undefined. So last is a review of solving your rational equations. Again, restrictions are going to come from setting each denominator equal to 0, so you want to factor first. So when you set each denominator equal to 0, again, you're going to end up with 1 and 0 being your restrictions. So since you have one fraction equal to another fraction, you can just cross multiply. So I have 2 times x minus 1 is equal to x squared minus x. Distribute the 2. I need to get a 0 on one side, so I'm going to move everything over to the right, left, right. So I have x squared minus 2x minus x is minus 3x plus 2. Again, it's a quadratic, so I'm going to factor. Factors into x minus 2 times x minus 1. So x is equal to 2 and 1. Remember, you need to take your answers and compare it against your restriction. Notice 1 was a solution and a restriction. So that's one of your extraneous solutions. So we have to reject it. So your only answer is going to be x equals 2. So if you take a look at B, I have 2 over x plus 1 plus x over x minus 1 is equal to 2 over, again, I'm going to factor that denominator into x plus 1 times x minus 1. So the restrictions, you would look at all of your fractions and you set the denominators equal to 0. So I end up with x is equal to 1 and negative 1. So now you don't have one fraction equal to another fraction. So what you're going to do is you're going to multiply every fraction by your LCD, and your LCD is x plus 1 times x minus 1. So when I take 2 over x plus 1 and multiply by the x plus 1s, remember this is actually a fraction over 1. I can cross out those x plus 1s, and I'm just going to be left with 2 times x minus 1. When I take x over x minus 1 and multiply by the LCD, the x minus 1s are going to cancel. So I'm just going to be left with an x times x plus 1. On the right-hand side, both factors are going to cancel. So I'm just left with a 2. So I need to simplify and distribute. So I have 2x minus 2. Distribute the x. X squared plus x is equal to 2. I can actually combine the 2x and x to give me a 3x. So I have 2x, again, x squared, 2x plus x is 3x with my minus 2, equals 2. So I need to get a 0 on one side since it's a quadratic, so I'm going to subtract 2. Factor, this factors into x plus 4 times x minus 1. So x is going to be equal to negative 4 and 1. And again, you have to take those answers, compare against your restrictions. Notice 1 is both a restriction and an answer, so it's extraneous, you have to reject it. So your only answer is going to be x equals negative 4. And that's a review of your Unit 6.